What's up, guys? Quick little announcement that my code ESPRESSO is 30% off right now on G Fuel products, including the new restock of the limited quantity Carnage Shaker. So check it out, link in the description below if you guys are interested. But now on to the regular scheduled content. Season 4 launched yesterday in the early morning hours for some, and along with it, we got a lot of stuff naturally. Of course, we got things like new maps, new weapons, new modes, new operators, new battle pass, and other things included. Though, while we covered a lot of what was changed and what's new, today I want to talk a little bit about a different approach and talk about 10 things that you probably didn't know about Season 4 in Modern Warfare and Warzone, from a big secret edition in-game to some cool trivia and helpful pointers. Today we'll cover all of that, so as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Firstly, how many of these items did you know about? And as well, what would you consider your favorite out of these? But also, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare and Warzone on a daily basis, especially as we still have a ton of stuff to talk about and discuss over the coming days with the new launch content of Season 4. But anyways, let's get into it. Firstly, to start out with what I think is probably the biggest of things you may not know about and has some larger implications actually for maybe even the future of Warzone. That being the fact that there were new train tracks added into the Warzone map. Now, when you first think about this, you may think, well, wait a second, there's a train station. Of course there's tracks, and there has been tracks, Jordan. And while you are correct in that statement, there were train tracks before, and there is a train station and has been since launch. New tracks were added to make a relative loop around the mainland of Verdansk, and in some areas, it's not even so much as just adding tracks on already completed Geo. Mainly the hillside overlooking Hospital and then over by the port locks, Geo is actually carved out in the form of a full-on tunnel as well as an underpass. Now, the reasoning for this is relatively unclear still. Perhaps it's just to open up another route of escape for those that may need it. I know that hillside is often a daunting task if you have a team that's waiting there for you near it, so to offer a route that allows you to go underneath instead of over the hillside and mountain there could definitely be useful, but it also could mean the installation of maybe a rail car system in the near future, which would be actually pretty cool. Blackout had tracks like that last year, and I always thought that it was kind of a missed opportunity to have something interactive in the world, or rather not have something interactive in the world when that was already in place, but I know nothing of the technical limitations, so who knows. But anyways, it's certainly a cool little addition here that you may have noticed that there's actually some changed geo, a new tunnel and underpass system, and then also some new train tracks around the map. But next, let's talk about some tips here that you may not know about. I want to talk about the Fennec, the new SMG, for the next two items of interest. The first tip, though, going to your ammo reserves. If you've played with the Fennec at all, you know that it's an absolute bullet hose. You can go through all of your ammo in just about record time if you're engaging multiple firefights, and when you consider that at the base, the unadjusted amounts that you get in ammo counts are 25 rounds in that initial mag and then 76 in reserve. But here's the cool part. If you use the X16 as your secondary and have fully loaded as the weapon perk on that specific build for that pistol, you'll be able to notice that instead of the 101 shots in total, you'll actually have a little bit more with that starting mag amount still being the same of 25, but the reserve is increased by just under 50 rounds more, increasing it to 115 total in reserve, not just overall, including that magazine already loaded. When you break this down, you realize that it's due in part to the X16 using these same 45 ACP rounds as the Fennec, so by increasing the on-hand ammo capacity, it seems to by extension carry over to the Fennec as well as just the X16. Now, will this make a whole ton of difference? Perhaps not, but I'll happily take another magazine and then some if I'm not running overkill, because oftentimes I don't even use the secondary that I'm swapping to, so it won't make much of a difference to know which one I carry here with that. I also have yet to test it out, but I'd imagine this also, by the same principle, applies to the 1911 with fully loaded as well, since that also is a 45 ACP weapon. But keep these in mind next time you build out your Fennec class loadout. Then, number 3, we'll talk about, once again, the talk of the Fennec. I want to talk a little about the camo challenges you may be going up against if you're trying to get this thing gold, platinum, or Damascus. Right now is actually better of a time than any to go for the challenges on this, because right now it seems like the weapon is somewhat bugged in which it doesn't seem to showcase the proper SMG specific challenges. The two categories in question come down to the Topo and the Splinter camos. For the Topo challenges, normally on all SMGs, you'd end up seeing the camos deal with mounted kills, which is a huge pain in the behind to begin with, because one, I'm not a fan of having to drop down to that slower style of play, and also two, because it kind of promotes that slower gameplay. But my opinions aside, on the Fennec, it's actually counting and showcasing that you only need double kills right now, which if you pop on the round drum mag is much easier to do, and you can absolutely breeze through those. But additionally, like we said, the Splinter challenges are also in question as well, because those are long shots, but it's nice because while long shots with this gun are absolutely a pain, you don't have to do as many of them as you normally would with any other SMG. If you were to compare the Splinter challenges on the Fennec to any other SMG, you'd see that the normal max camo that you need requires 50 long shots, but the Fennec only requires 30. Now, these challenge discrepancies seem to be taking from instead the pistol challenges, where both of those anomalies match up, with a topo being double kills and the splinter being a max of 30 instead of 50. But for the time being, make sure that you grind these challenges out because they are a little easier and they may be changed in the near future. Now, moving along, let's talk about some Easter eggs here, because there's a plethora of these, but there are some ones that jumped out that I saw a lot of people overlooking here, and I thought were kind of cool to point out to you. But firstly, let's talk about some stuff with the Season 4 Battle Pass. Now, Price obviously is that operator we end up getting with the Battle Pass, so naturally, we can expect to see some Easter eggs here with the items and the naming of said items that all link back to Price. Right at Tier 1, you end up getting the Callus 1911 Blueprint. Now, if you recognize this, that's because it draws all the way back to the classics in Modern Warfare 2, and is that 1911 that Price himself dons in the original Modern Warfare trilogy. So it's a cool blast from the past, and one that you may have caught, but also may not have. Another really early on one, you end up getting a melee blueprint called Prisoner 627. And again, drawing back to that classic Modern Warfare 2 and the mission The Gulag is where this comes from, and where you're most likely to remember that name of Prisoner 627. That is who Captain John Price was, again, in that original trilogy, in that classic. And that's one that even just recently with Modern Warfare 2 campaign being remastered, reliving that and seeing that in a remastered perspective is honestly fantastic. That one was definitely a great blast from the past, but to then see this carry over into Modern Warfare 2019 is pretty cool. Then talking about another item that is a little Easter egg here, but more so a pop culture reference, comes down to the new Cali Sticks weapon. And we talked about how this new melee weapon is something you can grind out for 3 melee kills while sliding in 15 different matches with the knife, but if you don't want to do that, because realistically it's not like the other blueprints where if you end up buying the bundle in store, you can't rank it up or unlock it because there are no attachments to the Cali Sticks. If you end up buying the Dragon Turtle bundle, you may notice that this is actually a sort of callback to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, with the turtle shell of the Riot Shield and then the Cali Stick Ram Jam melee blueprints. That's a cool little nod to another classic. Then we also talked about it briefly yesterday, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. There also is a new Easter egg within the map of Trench, the new 2v2 gunfight map, in which you can open up the one bunker in the back spawn. In order to do this, you need to find 5 different numbers that are randomized every single game, so it's not going to be something that you can just memorize the code. You have to go to each of the 5 locations and then input that code on the keypad. Now, as we talked about yesterday, the first 2 are on broken concrete slabs near the bunker entrance. The third one is in the wooden ammo box on the opposite side of the map. Then the fourth one is on that concrete slab that's actually sticking up out of the elevated dirt, not actually in the trench. And the fifth one is underneath one of the wooden planks connecting the 2 above ground sections. Once you end up getting those in order, again, just go over to the keypad, input that in by shooting the numbers, and then you'll get access granted. The bunker will open up, to which you can explore the Soviet era style bunker, outfitted with a bunch of teddy bears planning their next strategic strike on Barbie and Ken's dream house. So if you want to see their plot for world domination of toys, you can definitely check that out. But if you want to go a step further, again, there is that next code that is on the phones in that bunker, to which if you go and take that code and input that into the same keypad to get into the bunker, it will then tell one of the telephones to ring. If you pick up, it sounds the alarm, and then the giant teddy bear dual wielding miniguns will come out of that elevator service entrance and just fire on the entire bunker. So that's something to check out and is pretty cool. But unless we want to talk about the fact that Bunker 10 has a new nuke in it, but again, there's not really any way for us to experience that for ourselves just yet. Those steps still have yet to be found, so we don't exactly know how to get there. One thing you may have noticed here out of Season 4, if you've played Warzone at all, is that in that pre-game lobby with a countdown from 60 seconds or whenever it is to start the match, usually you could end up getting execution kills on the AFK players, but that actually doesn't seem to be the case now. I would assume this is a bug, but as of the time of recording this, there is a seemingly infinite loop that players get thrown into if they try to end up executing an AFK player. It won't finish them off, but instead it will let them stay there, to which you can activate the execution all over again, but that's something you may not have been aware about. Then we end up seeing that this season also offers up some designated officer challenges specifically to Warzone, which I think is pretty cool, though to many it may not be exactly your cup of tea. The ones that I've seen so far actually are kind of tedious, and for me, again, it's not an issue because I play Warzone primarily, and then the officer challenges for MP are more so something that are out of the way. For the most part, a lot of players may not be caring too much about the Warzone challenges, but these ones do take a little bit of time. Those including things like completing 50 contracts, starting 20 of those in downtown, purchasing the armor plate box 25 times, surviving the gas for 25 seconds, starting 3 contracts in the prison area, collecting your loadouts 3 times, finishing in the top 30% 2 times, buying a teammate back from the kiosk 15 times, and so on and so forth. So there's definitely some stuff that may take a little bit of time and may promote playing Warzone a little bit more for this season's officer challenges, but I think nice they're including more stuff from around the game, but also, again, may not be your cup of tea. And then finally, the last thing I'll talk about is that of the Weekend Warfare playlist and the free-to-play weekend. Because of the free-to-play weekend, we have 2 special playlists in the Warzone category of Modern Warfare, in which that actually kicks Plunder out of the rotation. Right now, it's solos, duos, trios, and quads of Battle Royale for Warzone, but Plunder is no longer in the rotation for seemingly just this weekend. Also, when it comes to Modern Warfare and that Weekend Warfare playlist, you'll see that this comes down to what is labeled as a mix of maps and game modes, including things like Shipment, Shoot House, and the other fan favorites outside of just Scrapyard 24/7 and Trench Mosh Pit, since those are the featured game modes and maps here with Season 4's launch. So that's stuff you can definitely take advantage of, and I would highly recommend, though the only downside is that also doesn't have any love for hardcore. There is no hardcore Weekend Warfare playlist, which is kind of a bummer. Hopefully that gets added in with a playlist update, maybe tonight, and it's just a slight oversight, but for now, that is 10 things here you may not have known about Modern Warfare Season 4. So that's it. Let me get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. How many of these did you know? What's your favorite out of them? Anything in between? Feel free to drop it down in the comments. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered here on the channel. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. I live on both those. So you guys will strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be. That link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.